Hello and welcome to another audio analysis. In today's video we'll be taking a look at the track I Remember by the alt metal band 10 Years. Now it's hard for me not to get excited about this latest track because they are my favourite band and they have been for such a very long time, probably about 13 or 14 years. So as soon as I heard word of a new announcement, not only announcing this track but also announcing they're going to be releasing a new album, no title or release date, but just the news of that new album coming up at some point in the future is certainly very exciting news for me. And I'm sure many people can resonate. As soon as you hear your favourite band is releasing new music, you can't help but get excited. And they have released one potential track already from this upcoming album in the form of The Optimist. It was the first track they did release since their previous album Violent Allies, which they did release in 2020, which did cover a variety of topics, looking at the post-pandemic, looking at songs like Deja Vu that really covered the idea of a lack of authenticity, everything being the same, running that same cycle over and over. And they also rounded out the album with this very beautiful track called Say Goodbye, which is all about letting go of a loved one, them kind of passing on into the next life, really to taper off the album. It certainly was one that was full of strength. Some of you may know this band from their 2005 track Wasteland from their Autumn Effect album. It certainly was one track that has remained quite heavy in its radio rotation, certainly over in the US, not so much over here in the UK. They did recently come over to the UK with 3 Days Grace, getting to support them. It was great getting to see them take to a slightly bigger stage, even though it was only in a support slot. I really am hoping that the band can continue to build on the success, though, of Violent Allies. It really was a strong album, and certainly The Optimist, the track that they did release most recently, had a lot of strength in it as well. We're touching on the idea of holding on to that idea of hope. So will this track prove to be one worth remembering or simply one to forget? Let's take a look at exactly how it sounds.
Fantasies, wasted dreams, I was chasing. Be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. Nothing's what it seems when my dreams wake up and vanish into the air. I'm hanging on by a thread, just a memory left for dead, and gone forever, gone forever. Can I survive burning minds, blinded by the bright side that I remember, I remember.
So already I'm loving some of the things we're getting in this track. One of the strengths of the band is Jesse Hassett, the frontman, his ability to write very strong songs through just a lot of tie-in from his personal experiences and things like that. We certainly saw it on the previous album, and I already love some of the ideas we're getting coming in here. The idea of kind of hanging on to memories, the idea of almost living in the past as well. There's really a lot of different ways this song can go just off this first verse alone. Certainly looking at the idea of kind of going down the rabbit hole, getting lost in a fantasy world, and we see this through the idea of when our dreams wake up. A waking dream almost is when you're still awake and just kind of almost in La La Land. You're kind of experiencing things, having these almost visions of what life could be like, or certainly touching on either the past or the present. It's not really tying to one specific time frame. I can remember when all I had was inspiration. So almost touching on a past self, something like that, who was lost in fantasies. The idea of aging as well can come in. Certainly the idea of just progressing through life where you get to a point when you get older where your memories start to fade. You struggle to kind of keep hold of them. Be careful what you wish for. You might just get it. So you might get lost in these fantasies as you age. You really might start to really disconnect from reality and really just see this idea of vanish into air. The idea that your memories can vanish and fade through a variety of reasons. It could also be your dreams as well that are vanishing. So it can touch on the idea of aging, can touch on the idea of memory loss as well, and just this idea of living in a past, living disconnected from reality. So lots really packed into this first verse, and also with the chorus as well. I love how it potentially personifies the idea of a memory. I'm hanging on by a thread. It's almost like Jesse's putting himself in that position of a memory that's trying to hang on for dear life. Just a memory left for dead and gone forever, gone forever. So that memory's just gone, so that it's completely just being lost to the sands of time almost. Can I survive burning lights, blinded by the bright side that I remember? And I kind of like the idea how this is kind of touching with the idea of certainly photography almost. The idea of overexposure. Certainly something that we do see is a metaphoric use of photos to signify memories, capturing a moment in time. And they can can be overexposed, they can be burnt. You can burn photographs to kind of show the idea of erasing something from your memory. Blinded by the bright side. So you can also see that you're trying to forget living in the present because you remember a past time that was certainly much more positive. So there's so much going on. This is what I love about their music, is the fact that there's so many layers built into the lyrics, into the track, and so we see the return of that harder rock sound, not quite as melodic. It's kind of switching between this pounding force into something slightly more melodic with the guitars from Matt. So really interesting to see this blend of the two styles as well.
A destination, nothing's what it seems. When my dreams wake up and vanish into the air, I'm hanging on by a thread, just a memory left for dead, and gone forever, gone forever. Can I survive burning lights, blinded by the bright side that I remember? I remember we vanish into the air.
Okay, I'm really liking this switch up we've got in the second chorus, switching into we vanish into the air, making it more inclusive, almost like you've got this memory personified, but also this person or these memories of people. So it could even be touching on the idea of keeping the memory of a past loved one alive or something like that, hanging on by a thread, just a memory left for dead. So really showing this idea of memories, really trying to hold on. We saw it with The Optimist as well. This album may reflect a lot of ideas of trying to hold on to things, whether it be hope, memories, things like that. Starting to see a potential pattern between the two tracks that they have released, but I just love the kind of transition into that. And really touching on the future tense as well. We are never what we intend or envision. So looking onto that future self, what we want to become, and only a copy of compromised creations. So almost like we are corrupt, almost kind of. You can look at the digital photography, files becoming corrupted, memories becoming corrupted. So I like how a lot of things really just are blended into this track. The idea of how memories can be affected, they can be lost, corrupted, they can be overexposed almost. You can also change your memories based on what you want to happen. You can actually kind of alter them based on an experience, something that can change your perception of it. So I like how they're touching on a lot of these ideas just through very simple lyrics that may seem quite basic on the surface level, but there's a lot of depth actually to them.
I'm hanging on by a thread, just a memory left for dead, and gone forever, gone forever. Can I survive burning lights, blinded by the bright side that I remember? When I remember, we vanish into the
And I love how, even though it's actually just a lyric video, I love how the visuals really capture the idea as well. Almost like this old film style, this idea of reflection. It really kind of emphasizes that idea of trying to hold on to memories. So I'm really getting this idea more kind of through the visuals as well, this idea of aging and trying to hold on to your past. And like I say, it's something that we see on the rise. People suffering from Alzheimer's, it can burn away at your memory, sort of at your brain, and your memories can be eaten away slowly over time, and they can just be kind of blasted out almost. So I like how they're touching on lots of these different things with this track, and really just putting a lot of attention on something that certainly seems to be quite a focus for the band, certainly from these recent tracks we have seen. Really just the idea of holding on to things that are very important in life, such as hope, such as your memories. And I love how musically they're kind of sticking to their style, just these quite chugging guitars at times, really just having these pounding drums come in as well, and just this interesting switch up between something slightly more heavier and then switching into something slightly more melodic at certain parts of the track. So really interesting to see the kind of disposition between those two and how they kind of ebbed and flowed between the two styles. But I love some of the songwriting that we've got included on this. It's something that I've always admired from the band, and they just never seem to disappoint. So that will be everything for today's video, but please do feel free to let me know your thoughts about this track, especially if you're hearing it for the first time, or if you want to check out some of the band's other music, their recent single The Optimist, albums such as Violent Allies. I'll go all the way back to the beginning and check out albums such as The Autumn Effect or Killing All That Holds You. A great variety from the band over the years. They've always put out some really strong records. Also, if you'd like to see more content like this, then please do feel free to subscribe, and I will see you in the next Star Show analysis.